So today I'm cooking outside. I'm making scrambled eggs on my brand new rocket stove that we made. This is the second rocket stove in the last few years. So I have all the ingredients that I'm going to need and a bowl to mix them with. I'm going to use charcoal, and I use the hardwood lumps. I don't like using the briquettes. They have a lot of chemicals in them. So this is what you get. It's actually wood. I make my own charcoal a lot of times. Today I'm just using up this bag. I have a grill, and it's rusty. Pacific Northwest rains all winter. It's rusty. And what I do with this is I sit it on top of my rocket stove to hold my frying pan on. I don't have to do this. I can put the frying pan directly on, but I like having this on there, more stability when I have something hot. Here's my rocket stove that we made in the last video, and the only thing that's changed is I took the rasp, which I guess is gone now, and I just filed it in 4 different areas. And the reason for that is twofold. If I put my frying pan directly on here, that's where the smoke is going to escape. You have to have an escape route for the smoke, or the flame will go out. It suffocates. The other thing is, on the bottom of my grill, there's a piece that holds it all together, and I want that down. So this is flat. It's not wiggling. If I didn't do that and I put it down, it would wiggle. So I just grind it down. And I have 2 spots I can do it in. So that's it. And then I have a frying pan and some paper to get my coals going. And I'll get that started next. So I did find the rasp, and I just wanted to show you. This is for woodworking. It's not a metal one, but it still works on this because it's just plaster of Paris and sand. And all I did was I sat it down and I rubbed it back and forth, and it made a little groove for me. That's it. So I've taken some paper and crumpled it up, and it's inside in the bottom. And now I'm just going to start putting my charcoal in. I want it filled up to the top, but not sticking out, because I still need to put the grill on. And I am not going to put any lighter fluid on it or anything. I really don't need to, and I prefer not to have all that chemical stuff when I'm cooking. Yes, your hands get dirty, so if you have a towel around, you just wipe them off. It's very simple. And now I'll get the fire started with a match. I'll push that back in there a little bit because the coals made the paper pop out a little bit. We have an absolutely beautiful rooster, but all he does all day is crow. That's his favorite thing. I'm going to take that out and put it in the top. And as the paper burns on the bottom, the smoke comes pouring out the top. Charcoal is really easy to get going. And then once it's going, once the smoke really dies down and the coals are glowing, that's when we'll get started on the cooking. And at any point, if I need to add more coals, I simply take the frying pan off and the grill, put a few more in there, put the grill back on, the frying pan back on, and we're back to cooking again. So when you have your rocket stove, when you sit it on something, you always want to have a little area out front for things to fall out on. You don't want it to land where you're either going to walk across it, pets can walk across it, or it could start a fire. So what I did was I actually got a stump. We cut some trees down last year, and I've saved some stumps. specifically for my rocket stove, so that I can have some height. I'm not bending over real low trying to cook and then the heat hits you in the face. This is more at a stove level, and so when I cook, I'm just cooking normally. I'm not bent over, and my hair's not going to catch on fire. You know, there's a lot of reasons why it's easier to just have it up on something. If I didn't have this big trunk piece, I could use cinder blocks or bricks, or I could build something out of wood, whatever. The bottom will get hot if you cook for a long time. So you could put a piece of metal across there and then have wood underneath. There's other options. So whatever you have laying around your house would work. And ideally, I would actually have this, if I can move it, further back, so that there's more area here. And then in the top you can see that it's nice and glowing. I will probably add a few more pieces of charcoal, and then I'm going to get started on the cooking. Okay, so I topped off my charcoal. If you put your hand over here, you can feel the heat. It's getting there. And I'm going to go ahead and put I wanted it this way. I'm going to put my grill on there. And then I'm going to make some coffee, cowboy coffee. It's real simple. You just get a metal coffee pot, or even a pot. You don't even have to have a coffee pot like the old-fashioned style. You can just use a pot with water in it. You want to bring it up to a boil. I bring it up to a boil, and then I add my coffee grounds to it, and I bring it back to a boil, and I let it sit there for a few minutes, like 3 or 4 minutes boiling, and then I turn it off or take it off. The grounds will automatically sort of filter down to the bottom, but right before I'm ready to pour it, I'll put in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of cold water, and that helps the grounds sink and stay on the bottom. So I'm going to put the pot on now. There we go. And now I'm going to start making the eggs, and that can start getting hot while I'm making the eggs. Alright, so now I'm going to mix up my scrambled eggs, and this is the way I was taught how to do it by my dad. He grew up in the Great Depression, and he had lots of stories. So obviously there's a million different ways to make scrambled eggs. This is just how I do it. We like them very cheesy, so there's a lot of flavor in there. Sometimes I put garlic in, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put chicken bouillon in, sometimes I don't. Today I'm just going to make it really, really simple. So I have red hot pepper flakes here. So we're going to put a little bit in there, and I've got my grated cheese. I have my butter that's going to go in the pan when it's ready. I have our fresh eggs here. We have all different egg colors. And I have salt and pepper, and I have some green onions that I have sliced up. So I'm going to start with scrambling the eggs, and then I add everything together, and then I put it in the pan when the butter's melted real well. And I get a nice seal on it, and I use a fork. That was something my father taught me, was you use a fork instead of a spatula to make your eggs. And I'll show you how that works. So to get back to my scrambled eggs, I have my eggs all scrambled up here. And everything, including the silverware, comes from the thrift store. So I get all kinds of really cute things. All of these, they're just absolutely adorable, and they're like 50 cents if you get them on sale. So just wanted to point that out. So next I'm going to put in some salt. And I don't measure, I just go by what looks good. And then I'll put in some pepper. I like pepper, and it's good for you. And I'll put in just a little bit of the red chili pepper flakes. And I'll put in my green onions, make sure they're all in there. And then I usually do the same amount of cheese, grated cheese, as I do eggs. So it's like half and half, and that way they're really cheesy. I'll just mix it up real quick. Get that pepper mingled in more. protein in here between the eggs and the cheese. Good start to the day. Alright. Okay, so my coffee's been boiling for a few minutes, and just wanted to check. You can see it's boiling really well in there. Yep, can't even blow off the steam. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it and put it down here and let it cool. And the next step is to get my frying pan hot. Now there's some ashes that fell in here, and that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm checking. There's still plenty of coals in there. In fact, I might move this off, lean it against my stump, use my spatula, move these around a little bit so that it's evenly going to be hot instead of not hot on just one side. And then, yeah, this isn't too hot on the edges, so I'm going to put this right back on again. Put my frying pan over the center, and we're good to go. I could have simply put this over, and it will work. It will. I just like having it a little more balanced that way, and the smoke can come under and around the frying pan more, so you definitely won't smother your coals or your fire. As you can see, coals do fall out, so that's why you want a little ledge there. Ashes will also start to fall out as well. If it's really, really windy, I would suggest making sure you have a lid for whatever you're cooking so the ashes don't blow up and into your food. It doesn't hurt anything. Ash can actually be good for you as long as there's no chemicals in it. Today it's just a little bit breezy. It's not bad at all, so I'm not going to worry about a lid. Alright, so my frying pan has been on here literally like 2 minutes, and it's already really hot. So I'm going to put in 1 pat of butter, and I'm going to make sure that it melts all the way around everywhere so my eggs won't burn and stick. I also like to put it up along the sides and go all the way around. So I'll wait for that to completely melt. You can see how hot it is. Beautiful. So I'll go ahead and move my skillet a little bit. This is a hot spot. You can see it's bubbling, so I want to make sure it's evenly hot over everywhere. And I don't want my butter to burn, so I'm going to go get my eggs right now. Alright, so here we go. I have my eggs all ready to go. Just going to pour them in there. Sorry. Alright, I'm going to spread them out a little bit. And now we're just going to wait for them to start cooking. They're already starting to a little bit on the bottom, so I'll give it a few minutes. Alright, so it's been cooking about 3 to 4 minutes so far, and as you can see, it's cooking nicely. So what my dad taught me was you let it cook until you can pull it away from the sides. See, nice and neat, it just pulls away. It's not even stuck. Well, the cheese there is, but you just pull it away, and then you just mix it up. If you use a spatula, you end up with big chunks. With a fork, you end up with smaller pieces. You have more ability to get in there and do things like this, clean up the sides. But look at that, it's not sticking. It's beautiful. This frying pan was also from the thrift store. I saved it. It came very, very rusted. So I cleaned it up really well, and I seasoned it 5 or 6 times, and I just keep up the season, and it works really, really well. This is exactly what you want, one that will just, the eggs slide around instead of sticking and scorching. And they're almost done. Oh, they smell so good. All that cheese, a little bit of onion smell. Turning slightly brown, which I like as well. And after this, I could cook bacon, I could cook sausages, I could make biscuits, I could put muffins in a Dutch oven and bake them in here. You can just keep this going and going. There's still enough coals here to go for another hour. I just cooked something very simple to show you how easy it is. Isn't that just amazing? Alright, let me put this on my plate and I'll show you what I do with my coffee next. Alright, I wanted to just show you now that the eggs are out. This is basically clean. All you have to do is wipe it out, and if you wanted to wash it you could, or you can just wipe it out and use it again in you know, for dinner or whatever. So my coffee has been sitting and cooling for just a few minutes, and now I'm going to add some very cold water to it. I just have that in the cup that I'm going to use to drink it out. I usually like to pour it down the nozzle, to be honest. Little spout thingy here. And that's all there is to it. You just let it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes, up to 5 minutes, and then I'll pour it out, and you'll see most of the coffee grounds are all at the bottom. They sink because of the cold water. So I completely finished my coffee, my eggs. You can see there's still a lot of hot coals in there, and like I said, I could just keep this going for another hour or so, but I wanted to show you the top of it too. There's still lots of coals in there, and it's only half full, and that was enough to cook everything here. Alright, so now I'm going to show you what I do with the cowboy coffee. So just so you can see it, I'm actually going to take the lid off so you can see how all of this works. And you don't want to jerk it around a lot because all of your coffee grounds, or most of them at this point, have sunk to the bottom. And you're going to pick it up and very slowly pour it. There's always a few coffee grounds, but generally, so far I haven't seen really any. You pour slowly, you know, you don't want to swirl around in there, and you're just getting your coffee out. Alright, and so now I have a hot cup of coffee. I have my cheesy eggs, and this cake was from a previous video for friendship sponge. You can make a bread or a cake with it, so this is like a really nice breakfast meal for us.